20 years of war. For some military children, that was their entire life. The heroism and commitment of our military community these past 2 decades is unparalleled and like nothing we have ever seen in history. We have shown up for our country, and social services have been created to provide a vast network of resources and support to the military-connected community. The generosity of the American people funded what is thought to be at its highest, 48,000 nonprofits supporting service members, reserve, guard, military families, caregivers, veterans, veteran families, Gold Star families, special immigrant visas, and our beloved military children. It hasn't been without its challenges, though. Soaring unemployment rates for young veterans, devastating losses to suicide, fragmented support for military families, a shortage of mental health care providers. The list goes on and on. But we have worked together to highlight the problems and create social change. The narrative has changed from broken warriors to assets in the community. In 2008, veteran unemployment reached its highest levels ever. But today, we have seen every veteran demographic across the board secure higher salaries than their civilian peers after transition. Some take longer to find that first opportunity, but a huge success overall. Today, the business case for hiring veterans and the value of the veteran is clear. We have moved the needle on mental health, where individuals have gone from burying their problems to seeking support and getting help. We are now moving the conversation to getting upstream and talking about resilience. Programs and providers are available for service members and their families outside of the DoD and VA systems. We have data to prove that asking for help and getting help saves lives. The Forever GI Bill has made education accessible to so many veterans and their family members, truly empowering the next generation and providing access to many first-generation college students. Thousands of organizations across this nation provide food assistance, financial literacy, legal support, and critical housing services to veterans who have fallen on hard times. Ensuring that no one falls through the cracks is exactly what Combined Arms and the other community hubs around the country are working together to coordinate. They can put these individuals on a pathway to stability in partnership with all of the essential service providers. Families are a part of the conversation too. Let's start there. Military families, veteran families, loved ones, families of the fallen, survivors, caregivers, and military children. We have access to school activities, respite relief, networking, support systems, grief counseling, therapy, and capable of highlighting the needs of under and unemployment for our military spouses. So the question is, where do we go from here? We are on our second year of a global pandemic. Our economy is disrupted, and the global giving is disrupted. We are no longer a nation at war. American interest in this conversation will wane. Collaboration will be more important than ever before. The opportunity is in front of us. There is success in collaboration to provide the best support for veterans and military families. The time is now for us to work together. We ask you to help us reflect on the past and collaborate for the future, because we are stronger together.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Essential Services Convening Breakout. Nothing like a little James Bond in the morning to get you going. What we wanted to do is present sort of a high level of what's going on in our military and veteran serving ecosystem right now. My name is Kelly Finstormer, and I'm the Executive Director of the Combined Arms Institute. It is my pleasure to welcome you here today. Thank you for making the time for this important conversation as our essential services providers. We are so grateful to all of you for really just being there to wrap your arms around veterans and military families every day. We have a great event planned for you today, and we're sorry that we couldn't be together in person. Next year, we will definitely be there. I know we have some great panelists with us today from the Bob Woodruff Foundation, and they are planning an in-person event, Stand Up for Heroes, if you all have not been there, very soon, to raise more awareness and funding for our veterans and families. So just grateful for their participation, and we'll learn more about what they're doing very shortly. As far as our convening goes, right, we bring our member organizations together to plan for 2022, but also to talk about the current challenges. So for today, what we're going to do is talk a little bit about Combined Arms, where we've been, where we're headed, and then learn a little bit more about what's happening within our Essential Services Committee. And then our presenters will participate with us today. We're going to go over the metrics of what you all have been working on as a collaborative, and then we're going to move you on to breakout groups and discussion as we talk about the current challenges and planning for the future, and just dig into that more as a collaborative. So we're really excited about that. During our convening opening session, which if we had all been in person together, you would have heard and participated, and I know some of you had the chance to participate in that. We had an amazing speaker, and yes, good morning, everyone. If you could put your name and organizations in the chat, that would be awesome, so we know who is in the room. We had an amazing speaker, Ray Perez from he's the 75th Army Ranger Regiment. He's a participant in Project Galahad, and he challenged all of us to think about how we can the Project Galahad's all about bucking the orthodoxy and thinking about things differently in an unconventional design thinking. And so we want to embrace that mentality today so that we can think about how do we come together in this very challenging environment and work smarter together, collaborate better together so that we can plan for the future. And so we're really excited about that. We have access to that, our special guest speaker. You know, if you're looking for a little motivation, I encourage you to watch that session. He was absolutely amazing, but it's really about how do we adapt, adjust, and flex to make the most creative support and innovative support for our veterans and military families. So if you'll go, good morning, everyone. It's great to see you. If you'll put the slides back up for me, I'm going to just talk a little bit about Combined Arms and where we've been so we can think about that, right? Our mission is all about uniting the community, bringing everyone together so that we can accelerate the impact of veterans and military families. We do that through innovative collaboration, and it's just to make sure that no veteran or military family falls through the cracks. We want to make sure they get connected to those unique resources for their unique pathway and set up for success as we run together. If you go to the next slide, and we can't do that without all of you, and you're a critical component to each of this. And so please consider all of this like a true celebration of success. Just as a quick reminder about Combined Arms, so much has changed about our organization. And just we always like to think about what have we done in the last couple of years. And so in February of 2019, really founded and based in Houston, we merged with the Lone Star Veterans Association. So our amazing community groups, Veterans and Allies, SIVs and Allies, our Christians group, Veterans in Tech and Energy, Military Spouses. It's just an amazing way for us to come together to see that alignment so that we can really provide the best support in the communities where we are. But that model that Combined Arms founded and started in Houston is expanding across the state of Texas. And in April 2020, we launched the Texas Veterans Network. And we have individual regional managers across the state in Austin, DFW, covering down on rural Texas, mapping those resources to ensure that we can get veterans and families connected into the communities. And then during the pandemic, right, this was all during the pandemic that we did, October of 2020, we merged with the National Association of Veteran Serving Organizations. So really investing in that member portfolio to enhance professional development and the opportunities to come together and share best practices and collaborate. That January this year, we formally launched the Combined Arms Institute with some amazing progress that we've made together. And again, it's my privilege and honor to lead you from that and those efforts. And then in April of this year, we served 10,000 veterans through the Texas Veterans Network this year. Just in September, we launched a new client-facing assessment 2.0 So if individuals come in and access resources on their own, that took that assessment facing down from 13 minutes of surveys to about 60 seconds. So it's an amazing job by our technology team, and we're just so grateful to them. And then what's not on this slide is actually just this week, the Texas Veterans Network served their 20,000th veteran and military family. So amazing success. And again, this is us sending individuals to all of you and the amazing services that you provide. So a holistic celebration together. So congratulations to everyone. We are just all about making sure that no one falls through the cracks. But just to be clear, Combined Arms is the umbrella. It is our home and our family. The Combined Arms Institute is a program, and same with the Texas Veterans Network. We are all absolutely one team. So if you go to the next slide, we're just going to talk a little bit about what we've accomplished through there. Our technology is live across the state of Texas, in Minneapolis, in Miami-Dade County, Florida, and will soon to be live in San Diego. And then we are currently in partnership with the state of South Carolina to make them the second most connected state for veterans and military families. So they'll be live soon. Also, we are the technology provider for the Veteran Wellness Alliance, which has clinical providers in 30 states across the nation. So if you're able to refer veterans and military families through Combined Arms, really to our 47 national partners, as well as to these communities across the nation. And we're just honored to be able to support these organizations with what we've started in Houston, which is where many of you are. Go to the next slide, please. So our Texas Veterans Network, we have 177 active member organizations. 214 organizations are still waiting in the queue, but that gives veterans and families access to over 700 resources across the nation, covering 196 counties across the state of Texas. If you'll go to the next slide, please. As far as our information, and we're just really, based in data, we want to make sure that we are connecting individuals to the resources that they're asking for. Of course, with the DoD creating the largest displaced workforce every year, employment is always going to be our highest request. But we have watched the data and information. We've seen increased needs for financial assistance and, of course, food assistance, as you are all well aware of these imminent needs. But the system of accountability is where we really kind of is our bread and butter, as we hold our organizations accountable to connection, to following up with these individuals. And while we have a 72-hour accountability time, organizations have been connecting in an incredible 26-hour response rate. Most of our referrals go to Next Stop, the Wounded Warrior Project, Mission United, and the Texas Veterans Commission in the terms of our Texas support. If you'll go to the next slide, please. The Combined Arms Institute was launched to elevate the military and veteran ecosystem, right? We want to make sure that veterans get connected to best-in-class service providers, and that we are all working together to share what's working and advance the ecosystem of support for veterans and military families. Obviously, our collaboration committees is one way in which we do that. But really also leaning into advocacy and research together to make sure that we're empowering you with the knowledge in your areas to advance outcomes for veterans and families. And then, of course, finding those professional development opportunities where we can come together and work and advance how we serve this community and investing in ourselves as service providers. If you'll go to the next slide, please. The Combined Arms Institute this year has provided over 1,200 hours of professional development for individuals. We've hosted 15 events and webinars and one military connected course where we've had individuals who have secured amazing amounts of additional funding through our Fundraising Academy course. More information coming up on that soon. We also have 5 committees, of which our essential service providers are one of them: professional growth, wellness, family caregiver, and our education committee. So we love working together and sharing these collaborative moments. If you'll go to the next slide, please. One of the most important things that what we realize is through our data and information, we know that veterans and families access on average of 2.4 resources when they come through our Combined Arms system. So whether they're connecting with our intake team or whether they are, self-selecting in, people are looking for employment opportunities, but they might also be looking for a financial literacy course, or opportunities to volunteer. And then of course, obviously for those of you that are serving our veterans in the essential services, we know that they obviously need a holistic wraparound services. And so it's amazing to come together through that. But that's the opportunity in front of us, is that we can refer to each other. If you'll go to the next slide, please. Through the Combined Arms system and through our check-ins, we're able to send individuals to each other if it's not a program that you provide. And so we do track this information. We have a check-in report that we watch who's sending the most individuals to other providers, to ensure that we're really taking care of and avoiding any mission creep, so that we're doing the best that we can and focused on our unique value propositions. If you'll go to the next slide, please. We are watching this, and we also want to challenge our service providers to come together. We want you to ask the veterans and families that you're serving, what else do you need? What else does your spouse need? What else does your loved one need? Your children? To make sure that we are holistically serving these individuals with the C and connecting them to the C of support. So we're going to be launching our 2022 check-in challenge, and each one of you has the opportunity to become a community connector if you're not already. So that when you're talking to veterans or out in town, you see somebody that is wearing an Army t-shirt. We've done this before in a coffee shop, like, hey, are you connected into your community? Can I get you? Do you have an unmet mental health need? Do you need access to services? Are you looking to volunteer? So all these different opportunities that you can refer veterans in to make sure we're accelerating their impact and where they're living. If you'll go to the next slide, please. So as a reward, what we wanted to do is to just celebrate without any prompting or anything, our highest referring organization, and that is Next Stop. So congratulations to them. We've awarded them $5,000 just for being able to celebrate them and for making connections to each and every one of your organizations as well. So we'd like you to join them in this opportunity, and we'll be sending some more information about what this looks like for the future in 2022 as we think about this check-in challenge. So if you'll go to the next slide, please. We're just so excited to celebrate you all. If you know other service providers that should be part of our network, we have our new web page that's been set up about the benefits of membership and everything else. And so you can see all of that information here. Again, we just want to make sure that we're challenging each one of you to think about how we holistically serve the needs of veterans and families. And I just thank you for joining us for this conversation so that we can really dive in and think about how we can best serve veterans and military families. Just a couple of upcoming events. Next week, we're hosting the State of Native American Veterans in 2021. We encourage you and your teams to join us for this event. It's going to be a great opportunity to celebrate and also understand what's happening with our Native American veterans right now. And then, of course, in November, we have our Education Committee, which will be our final convening breakout session. And then more information coming about our fundraising academy online for individuals with 0 to 5 years of fundraising experience to really just help you figure out how to make the ask and really, again, invest in that professional development opportunities for you. So if you have any other ideas or anything, please send them our way. We are here to support each one of you and your organizations on that journey. And I'd like to turn it over to our very new since September, collaboration manager, Jason Wise, who's going to be leading our committees going forward. We're excited and thrilled to have him on our team, who's going to welcome our chair today. So thank you, Jason, for being with us. And we're excited to have you on our team. Over to you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Kelly. And again, my name is Jason Wise. I'm coming to you from the Cleveland, Ohio area, and I am very excited to have the opportunity to work with Combined Arms and collaborate with all the committees and their chairs and also all the member organizations. So I'm going to introduce Alicia Trips. She is the committee chair for the Essential Services Committee. As the chair for the Combined Arms Institute Wellness Committee, Alicia guides the committee in accomplishing annual collaborative goals with the committee members. She serves as a program manager for the Veterans Program at Family Houston. She assists veterans and their families as they navigate through emergency situations, and Alicia fully took over the program in 2017 and continues to maintain the integrity and fidelity of veteran services with her unwavering commitment to the veteran community and Family Houston. She's going to review the next couple slides of the follow-ups to 2021 and what we're looking forward to in 2022. So take it away, Alicia.
Thanks, Jason. Welcome everyone to our convening today for essential services. As has been mentioned previously, we are the committee that people come to when they're in crisis. And so it is really important that we are collaborating with each other and trying to holistically help veterans and their families. As we know, when folks are in crisis, there's usually complex needs happening there. And so we can go to the next slide, Jason. So in Essential Services Committee, our vision for this committee going forward, we know this has been a really tough time working with families and veteran individuals during this pandemic. It is going to continue to be a little bit tough for a little while longer, I believe. And so we just want to make sure that we, like I said, are collaborating with each other and that we are seeking out organizations that are able to assist, letting them know about Combined Arms and what we are able to do in essential services. We want to also make sure that essential services is being seen within the community. Many times I've met veterans and families, I'm sure you guys have done the same thing, and they don't know that these resources are out there to help them. So we really want to make sure that veterans and their families know that these services are available and able to help during these tough times. Next slide, please, Jason. And so as we move forward into 2022, we have talked about what goals we want to try to reach as a committee. And so some of those goals are, we want to make sure that we're increasing our collaboration with each other. We want to make sure that we're increasing the check-ins. We just want to make sure that, as Kelly stated earlier, that veterans and their families are introduced to the system so that they have access to all of the resources that they may need that may be able to help them. So we want to continue to build connections with essential needs organizations to gain knowledge and power needed to lower the response times and fulfill every veteran need. Like we said, when veterans and their families come to us in crisis, those needs are usually very complex. So we want to make sure we are assisting holistically. Next slide, Jason, please. And so our speakers today are going to talk about some of the things that we are seeing within the community during this time. And so we have seen an increase in essential services and financial assistance requests, as well as legal assistance and food insecurities. And so I am excited, as one of Family Houston funders, the Bob Woodruff Foundation is here to talk to us about food insecurities. And so I'm just going to go through those bios real quick, and then we're going to turn the program over to the Bob Woodruff Foundation. And so Samuel Holmes is a senior program officer at the Bob Woodruff Foundation, and he is responsible for finding funding and shaping grants made to nonprofits addressing the needs of post 9/11 veterans, service members, military families, and caregiver. Sam started at the foundation as a charitable investment program intern in January 2016 while using his GI Bill, and was hired on as a full-time employee after graduation. Prior to joining the foundation, Sam served in the active component of the United States Marine Corps from 2006 to 2011, deploying in support of Operations Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom, and earning the rank of sergeant. After his service, Sam transitioned to the classroom, first to the City College of San Francisco, and then to the University of California, Berkeley. He holds a bachelor's degree in political science from the University of California, Berkeley. Emily Batter is a senior program officer. Emily Batter is a senior program officer at the Bob Woodruff Foundation. In this capacity, she is responsible for finding funding and shaping grants made to nonprofits addressing the needs of post 9/11 veterans, service members, military families, and caregivers. Prior to becoming a senior program officer, Emily held the roles of event coordinator and strategic initiatives officer. Emily started at VWF as an intern in January 2016 while pursuing her master's degree in Near Eastern Studies at New York University. During her time at New York University, Emily helped manage academic events ranging from intimate roundtable discussions to large-scale festivals. She concluded her master's degree with submission of her thesis on the impact of the United States aid to Egypt between 1940 and 2011. Emily graduated summa cum laude from St. John's University with a BS in criminal justice, a concentration in forensic psychology, and minors in international studies and philosophy. She also studied Arabic at the Sajal Institute for Arabic Language, Cultural, and Amman, Jordan. And Deidre Armstrong, director of the local partnerships. Deidre joined the Bob Woodruff Foundation in August of 2017, leveraging a decade of public service experience. Deidre is driven to find initiative and collaborative methods to support veterans. Before BWF, Deidre served in the White House as National Security Director for the Office of Presidential Personnel. In this role, she managed the team and selection process for appointees in foreign policy and national security positions across the government. Prior to the White House, Deidre served 8 years in the United States Senate, most recently as a professional staff member on the United States Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, where she managed a portfolio of nominations, including the Secretary of Homeland Security and all Inspectors General. Deidre grew up in Bay Area, Delaware, and earned a bachelor's degree from Indiana University. And last but certainly not least, Emily Krause. Emily Krause is a program officer at the Bob Woodruff Foundation and is responsible for finding funding and shaping grants made to nonprofits addressing the needs of post 9/11 veterans, service members, military families, and caregivers. She first came to BWF in September 2018 as a development associate before joining the grants team in 2020. Emily graduated summa cum laude from Whitman College, where she worked as a student academic advisor, helping first-year students transition to college academics, and earned a BA in theater with honors. We appreciate you guys so much for being here today, and I am looking forward to having this discussion with you all about food insecurity.
Thank you, Alicia. And thank you all for taking the time to collaborate together in this committee, and for allowing us to present here today. My name is Sam Holmes. I am a senior program officer at the foundation and a Marine Corps veteran. I remember first being introduced to the idea of combined arms not long after Hurricane Harvey in 2017, and remember standing on the parking lot, the roof of the Combined Arms Center, and really getting a sense of what the storm and what the disaster did to communities across the city. You know, fast forward now a few years, and we've had the opportunity to support many organizations in this committee, many organizations in the Combined Arms Network and Combined Arms themselves, to do the essential work to recover from not only that disaster, but the many disasters that have affected communities both in Houston and across the state of Texas since. What we're going to talk about today, as was mentioned by Kelly and Alicia, is we're going to talk a little bit about food insecurity for military and veteran families nationally, and try to narrow it down even to a little bit of what we know about food insecurity in Harris County, which really is fed from data from Combined Arms, as well as some of our partner organizations working within the Combined Arms Network. To do so, I'm going to turn it over to my much smarter colleagues to present the information. But I think really the theme in all of our conversations is going to be the importance of what you all do, both individually from your seats at your desks within your organizations, building up to the organization's mission and the services you provide, and then the collaboration that you all have within this type of committee and within this type of community that Combined Arms supports. I find it really powerful when Kelly mentioned that really your charge within this committee and within Combined Arms is to work smarter together and collaborate better together. And the Bob Woodruff Foundation, that's something that we try to support as well. Our mission is to find, fund, and shape programs that ensure that veterans military families, or military members, their families and caregivers thrive after service. And we know in order to do so, we need to find, fund and shape programs like many of yours that are participating in this community, but also to support the communities themselves. You know, veterans, obviously, it's been said many times, and I blanking on who said it first, even I think it was Admiral Mullen. Veterans don't transition to programs, they transition back to communities, and all of you, by working together, are building that community of support. After I'm done talking, I'm going to pass it to my colleague Emily Kraus, who's going to go over really the data that was introduced, and then our director of grants, Emily Bader, will talk a little bit about our funding strategy, and finally, our director of local partnerships, Deirdre Armstrong, will talk a little bit more about our local partner network. Now, Combined Arms, and all of you as participants in Combined Arms are a part of that local partner network. Your community plays such a strong role in not only helping us and helping your peer communities across the country become better at collaboration, better at welcoming veterans and military family members back to their communities, but also I think really sets a model for how to approach this type of work. And you know, I think a good example of that, quickly before I turn it over to Emily, is really demonstrated in our most recent grant to Combined Arms, which is not yet public, but we're getting ready to announce here soon. You know, Combined Arms, now that they're representative in communities across Texas, really understands that, you know, that, as Alicia said, that there are complex needs in communities everywhere, and these complex needs are human needs. And the more that we can recognize the many hats that we as veterans wear, you know, I like to think of transition as going from, you know, a veteran to a veteran and, but it's some of these veteran and communities that don't always put that veteran identity out front, whether it's communities of color, LGBTQ communities, and other underrepresented veterans across the state of Texas and across the country, oftentimes are not necessarily self-identifying as veterans. So Combined Arms is taking the effort to do what is necessary to bridge that gap, to make sure that what they're doing, what you all are doing, is equitable to communities and to all veterans who are in need of support, and to do so again at the community level, to not necessarily try to bulldoze their way into other providers, to come with a big tent rather than a big stick and big money. And I think that in my mind is such a important and powerful demonstration of the approach that is being led by the Combined Arms team, but really the culture that is instilled at the committee level, and is represented in all your organizations. So I'll be quiet now, and we'll get to the substance of what we're hoping to talk about. But really excited again to be here. And without further ado, I'll pass it off to my colleague Emily.
Thank you, Sam. I'm Emily Kraus. I'm a program officer at the Bob Woodruff Foundation, and also just thrilled to be here this morning. The COVID-19 pandemic brought food insecurity really to the forefront of the national conversation, but we know that it's not a new issue. It's not a new issue in America, and it's not a new issue in the military and veteran population that we serve. In 2019, 10.5% of Americans were food insecure, and this rate was higher among the military and veteran population, with 1 in 8 veteran and military households, or about 12.7%, experiencing food insecurity. And 28% of military families with children were participating in free and reduced meal programs through school. Also in 2019, our own local partner network reported that while 87% of them were serving veterans with food and nutritional needs, only 27% of them could meet those needs completely. And according to a 2019 survey by the Military Family Advisory Network, Texas was among the states with the highest rates of military family food insecurity. 1 in 6 of their survey respondents in Texas were food insecure. Another study found that over 16% of Harris County residents, including 1 in 4 children, lived in food insecure households. Food insecurity in the military and veteran population is associated with a lot of the same risk factors as food insecurity in the general population. These include income, education, employment, disability, and more. So in order to improve food security for veterans and military families, we know that we need to understand and address the factors that are contributing to food insecurity, including some unique challenges that are faced by the military and veteran population. Among veterans, we know that certain groups are at higher risk for food insecurity. For veterans with serious mental illness and veterans in poor health, these issues tend to feed each other. So research suggests that the relationship between mental health conditions and food insecurity is bidirectional. And a lack of access to a nutritious diet places individuals at higher risk of chronic health conditions, which in turn contributes to further financial strain. Also at high risk of food insecurity are veterans who are experiencing or have experienced homelessness, veterans with disabilities, female veterans, those who served in Iraq and Afghanistan, veterans of color, and veterans living in rural areas. There are also unique challenges to food security for military families. Basic allowance for housing is counted as income against SNAP eligibility, which bars many military families from receiving assistance. And we know that military spouse unemployment is extremely high. Pre-pandemic estimates were as high as 24%, and the Blue Star Family's 2020 Military Family Lifestyle Survey found that 42% of military spouse respondents had lost their jobs since March 2020. And 68% of those respondents remained unemployed at the time of the survey in the fall. Finally, we know that there's a significant gap in veterans accessing benefits. About 1.4 million veterans are enrolled in SNAP benefits, but they represent just 40% of those who are eligible. And overall, veterans participate in SNAP at a much lower rate than their non-veteran counterparts, with about 7.1% of all veterans participating in SNAP compared to 15% of all Americans. The COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated the financial challenges that contribute to food insecurity. Many families have lost or reduced income, and families with children may have lost access to free and reduced meals through their schools. And while recent USDA data has shown that overall national food insecurity remained constant last year at 10.5%, we've been seeing troubling information emerging about the military and veteran population. A recent study by the Military Family Advisory Network found that food insecurity among veterans and military families significantly increased during the pandemic from 12.7 to 19.6%. The top challenges to getting enough food were cited as financial instability, unexpected lifestyle changes, difficulty accessing healthy food, increased costs of living, and a worsening of pre-pandemic challenges. Data from the US Census this spring pointed to a similar trend among the National Guard and Reserves. Food insecurity is a critical and complex need that intersects with nearly all aspects of veteran well-being. So I'm going to turn things over to my colleague, Emily Bader, to talk more about what the Bob Woodruff Foundation is doing to move the needle on this issue.
All right, thanks, Emily, and good morning, everyone. I am Emily Bader, the Director of Grants here at the Bob Woodruff Foundation. Huge thanks to Combined Arms for having us and to all of you for tuning in. So as Sam mentioned at the start of the call, we've really been focused on granting to organizations addressing food insecurity since the start of the pandemic. It's a little bit more of a new grant making focus for us, and that's largely based on the increased need that we saw. So based on all the facts that Emily laid out, you can see that addressing food insecurity is really calling for a comprehensive approach to grant making. And that's largely because veterans need food now, but giving them food now is not getting ahead of their need tomorrow and the next day, and it's not resolving their need to be able to access food in the long term. So because of the complexity of this issue, BWF has started taking kind of a three-pronged approach to our grant making. And those three prongs are full plate, full pantry, and full coverage. So to kind of go into a little deeper on what that means for us, on the full plate side, that's looking like ensuring that veterans and their families have food today. So that's investing in programs that are providing short-term and immediate assistance that are helping veterans put food on the table and remain stably housed. That may look like food distribution programs, mobile food pantries, meal delivery programming, basically putting shelf-stable food immediately in the hands of people in need. It's low barrier, so we're really helping people overcome access issues like financial means or transportation, mobility. And then another method in this prong is emergency financial assistance. So that ranges from grocery store gift cards for those who have maybe lost income due to COVID-19 or other employment related challenges, or housing and utility related costs. So we can help people remain housed so they may be able to free up resources in other areas to help put food on the table and kind of stabilize. That second prong, full pantry, really is focused on ensuring that veterans and their families have food tomorrow. So that's getting a little bit upstream of hunger and addressing some of the underlying issues. So toward that effort, we're really looking at programs that are providing case management services and wraparound support. We know case managers are great at identifying some of the risk factors that are impacting food access, whether it's transportation, housing instability, isolation, even just cooking equipment, and also access to benefits. So case managers and social workers are really great at identifying those factors and then referring those individuals to address their needs. So on that front, we may be looking at employment services. So vulnerable populations like homeless veterans or veterans at risk of experiencing homelessness, and then getting them a little vocational and job readiness training, career certifications, looking at spousal employment and preparing spouses to be really successful in the job market, and really just focusing on increasing veterans' likelihood of securing long-term employment and sustainable wages. And then similarly in this prong, we're also looking at services for homeless veterans. So whether that's emergency shelter, permanent housing placement, legal services to address some of the underlying barriers to accessing housing. We know that housing security is really critical to achieving that long-term food security, and they're really intertwined. And then our last prong is full coverage, which is really the foundation's effort to resolve more of the systemic challenges that are contributing to food insecurity nationally. A huge need here is public-private partnership and collaboration. I know that is the name of the game for you guys. You're a great example of strong collaboration and social service across social service sectors. So what we're doing here is really investing in research and convenings and amplifying work to kind of hit a number of goals, like increasing awareness of the prevalence of food insecurity and how food insecurity is kind of interacting with other factors that contribute to veteran well-being, kind of helping people understand the root causes of food insecurity and identifying gaps in programs and services that contribute to improving veterans' access to food, and also just identifying programmatic best practices and policy solutions. So, all of that being said, we're really proud and excited about the work that we've done on the grant making side. We've got a lot of great partners who are doing the work on the ground. Many of them are on this call, but we know that money is not the only type of support that's needed to address food insecurity. So it is my pleasure to introduce Deirdre Armstrong, who's our Director of Local Partnerships, to kind of talk about how the foundation supports our local partner network, which is the other side of our programmatic work.
Thanks, Emily. And big thank you to Kelly, Alicia, all our friends at Combined Arms, and all the partners joining the call today. I'm Deirdre Armstrong, the Director of Local Partnerships at the Bob Woodruff Foundation, and I'm really excited to share a bit about our local partner network with you. As you know, BWF leads a robust grant-making program, but I'd like to share the other side of our programming work. BWF has identified over 100 veteran-serving collaboratives across 46 states that make up what we call our local partner network. As this committee demonstrates, collaboration is essential to have the most impact. In fact, Combined Arms was our very first local partner, joining the network back in the summer of 2017, before it really was a network, and sharing that vision in what we could accomplish. 4+ years later, Combined Arms is a true example of how collaboration can work to make the best impact in the lives of veterans. We support this growing network of local partners through a combination of regular meetings, funding opportunities, and original programming, such as webinars and trainings, in order to build that capacity for support locally. In fact, we were thrilled to have John Bursler host a series on the importance of data back in 2019. Our network has found the mentorship of Combined Arms invaluable. I really cannot tell you how many times I've connected Combined Arms staff with another local partner leader who reached out to me asking, how do I plan this event? Has anyone addressed this transportation challenge? I truly know that I can go to Combined Arms and connect them for those mentorship experiences with other peer leaders. We all know data is a powerful tool in knowing how to best support your community. In 2019, and again just this past summer, BWF distributed the Local Partner Self-Assessment Tool, or what we call the LPSAT, to all our local partners. Through this tool, BWF surveyed our local partners in order to establish that baseline understanding of what veterans need and how well community leaders nationwide are able to identify and deploy resources to address those needs. Our network, half of which identify as community veteran engagement boards like Combined Arms, have been instrumental in helping us understand, boots on the ground, what is happening in communities. We are looking forward to the release of our 2021 LPSAT findings in the coming months. Combined Arms has truly led the way in utilizing BWF food insecurity funding, long before the pandemic brought this issue to the forefront. We are thankful to continue to support ongoing Combined Arms snacks and VAX events. And I love that name. You are so vitally important to this work. I thank you for the opportunity to speak to the committee today and for your continued collaboration with our foundation. Thank you.
Well, thank you to all my colleagues. This is, as you could tell, they are much smarter than I am. But I think just reinforcing a couple ideas that we heard here as a demonstration of the importance of the work that you're doing today. You know, we really were first introduced to the issue of food insecurity and the prevalence in communities and really the dearth of services within veteran serving collaboratives through our tools like the LPSAP, but also direct feedback from the Combined Arms team. In the end of 2019, we started an engagement to really, find ways to bring, to connect resources in the Houston community to the Combined Arms network and to veterans within that network, starting as Combined Arms was building partnerships with organizations like the Houston Food Bank and with other organizations within the Combined Arm community and of collaborative organizations. We had an opportunity to quickly address these issues on the ground, and it was through the sharing of data. It was through the intentional work being done to guide and empower, I think, each one of these committees to be able to raise the awareness up to Combined Arms and then share it with funders like us that really makes what you all do so special, and what is happening in Harris County, in Houston, and across the state of Texas so unique. I think we're going to be opening up for questions here, so I'll pass it back to Kelly or Jason or Alicia. But before I do, just wanted to thank you all for all the work that you do. Encourage you to continue to work within this committee to build innovative solutions to address urgent and emerging issues that you see, but also to use us at the Bob Woodruff Foundation however you can, to be a resource for you. We, as I said, you are all a part of Breakout Your Six network by participating in this collaborative. Many of you are grantees already, but we would love to get to know all of you a little bit more in the work that you do. So if you're not already connected to the foundation through social media or through any of our other networks, I invite you to either find us online at our website and sign up for our newsletters. Certainly follow us on social media, or even work with the Combined Arms team to get a good sense of what's going on at the foundation. So pass it back to everyone at the Combined Arms, and with a last thank you so much for allowing us to share our work today.
I just want to say thank you so much for agreeing to participate and for speaking to us today. I am so grateful for the partnership that we have with you all over at Family Houston, as you help us continue to reach veterans during such critical times. I am so grateful. And with that, I will pass it back over to Jason.
Okay, great. I really appreciate it. Does anyone have any questions for the folks at Bob Woodward Foundation?
I would say to everyone, don't be shy. Now's your chance. We got you all off video because everyone else was speaking, but feel free to come on and ask questions to our amazing partners at the Bob Woodruff Foundation. So no questions. Well, I'll ask one since nobody's asking, because I'll on behalf of everyone else. But thank you for sharing such insightful information about the work that you've prioritized, as well as kind of how you've viewed kind of looking at the future. I mean, I think it's interesting, from just a disbursement or allotment perspective. I'm curious how you all look at different communities across the nation, right? This is a national challenge, but is your data showing that obviously we know that Texas is a big challenge in terms of our food insecurity with 1 in 6 military families. So are you using the data to prioritize different geographic regions across the nation as well? And how are you going about that?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. So right in, I think, April of last year, we published a paper that noted 15 communities across the country that we anticipated would be really hit by COVID, either because they were in industries that would really be affected or other related conditions in those communities. So I would say last year we focused a lot on ensuring that those communities were equipped to kind of best serve their MilVet communities. And I think the big ones always stand out for us: Texas, California, New York, but also just keeping an eye on where other funders aren't looking. I think part of what really drives our grant making is seeing where the gaps are. So whether that's gaps in nonprofit dollars coming into a community, or kind of federal grants and federal programming, we kind of use a mix of all of that information to inform our grants.
Thank you. That's really helpful. And of course, veterans and families are geographically like huddled in different areas, but that doesn't always mean that's where the greatest need is too. So it's interesting to hear how you go about that approach. You all explained it so well. So I know many of our providers are here. But if you guys can noodle on that a little bit, but we'll go ahead and dig into our combined arms data a little bit more about this committee and the work that we've been looking at, if that's okay, if there's no further questions, and if you all want to stay around to see if anything else pops up. But otherwise, we're going to move our participants into some breakouts for further discussion as we can think about the challenges ahead of us. So again, thank you so much for being here with us.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Tina Salisbury. I'm the Partner Development Manager for Combined Arms. So like I put in the chat, if you know anyone who's interested or you think should join our collaborative, we'd love to refer them to our membership page so that they can apply to join us as a member organization, and then I'll reach out to them and get them started on the process. So just a few quick broad overview snapshots of the numbers of our contacts and referrals in Combined Arms. And this is on our public Tableau pages. The top chart is just showing for year to date 2021. And this is as of last month, the categories of services that those are requesting. So career services, as we said, is the #1 request. We did start a new process of a general inquiry with the Texas Veterans Network. So that's able to do a quick connect to connect veterans and family members to Combined Arms. And they may not need resources right now, but we're able to get them into the system so they can create a profile and start taking some of those assessments and getting connected to resources. Our intake team also reaches out to them and does a full wraparound assessment to help get them connected to the right resources. So that's that first bar on the top there. And then the bottom bar is showing over time, since the beginning of Combined Arms, the list of resource categories that are being requested. So you can see financial assistance, benefits counseling, basic living needs are some of the top resources as far as essential services. And then I looked at those resource categories by demographics, and this is just by the numbers. So this didn't take into consideration, percentages, but just by the numbers, those that have come through Combined Arms. And like Bob Woodruff mentioned, there's a lot of people who do not identify as veterans, so may not be seeking that support. So just keep that in mind. One of the things I found interesting is that by the numbers, age group 31 to 40 were the ones that were most requesting these resources. And that was a little bit surprising, especially when we know that the large majority of our veteran clients are in the 18 to 25 range. So, these are probably those veterans with families in their household. So this is definitely something that we're talking about with the financial assistance and food insecurity with veteran family households. And then some of the resources and the organizations that provide those resources just by the numbers of referrals that they've received through our system. Just wanted to point some of these out so you can see some of the organizations that we partner with. And we have financial assistance broken out by food, home and shelter, other, rent and mortgage. So some of the heavy hitters there, we have Mission United North Texas that was mentioned on the slide, some of our top referring organizations. And then of course, Combined Arms that's led by our intake team and our social services manager and licensed clinical social worker, Johanna Zolman. So they do a lot of work to make referrals to some of our organizations within network and also out of network. And then also some more financial assistance, rent and mortgage, transportation, utilities. So some of our organizations that are on the call today, you'll see represented there. And then homeless assistance, housing and shelter, and legal assistance. So our two top orgs for legal assistance are Beacon Law and Lone Star Legal Aid. And then I also included referral service. This could be referral for a lot of different things, but a lot of it is also those essential services needs. And then this is just the numbers for Combined Arms. So from our intake team for financial assistance, and then broken out by each category, the numbers of referrals that we've made throughout 2021 by month. So some of those higher months that we saw in 2021 was June and August. And this is as of last month.
And Tina, I'm just going to jump in here, right? What's really interesting, and we had a lot of discussions about this internally, about these numbers, right? For financial assistance, for food assistance requests, we saw them skyrocket in August, right? In Texas again, and in the Houston area specifically. And so, and I think we had a lot of conversations. What we thought was interesting about this is at the same time when some of the federal benefits, federal unemployment benefits had were ended at that point. And so that was some of these challenges that we had. And I know we've talked about this, but we're going to ask you all to talk about this a little bit more in your breakout groups about kind of some of the challenges and how we can get ahead of some of this for the veterans and families that we're serving every day.
And then the last slide for Combined Arms is the housing and homeless assistance numbers. So July, we saw the highest number for 2021 year to date for that support. And just to summarize, we understand that especially during the pandemic, at a time when these needs are the greatest is also when our organizations that we partner with are stretched the most thin. So some of those organizations that you saw there on the previous slides, those are organizations that you can reach out to and help support and grow your mission. So if it's a service that you do not provide, you can make that interagency referral to another organization, especially in the essential services side. This is the most diverse committee where a lot of our organizations are providing specific service types. But as we know, those clients are needing a full list of services. So we want to be able to provide them the full support of their holistic needs.